Hello and welcome to VaeciaReads. Have you ever been to a therapist? We've all got our share of burdens, don't we? Unfortunately, for some people, going to one is considered taboo. I think the right therapist can do wonders for one's psyche. On this note, I'll be reading from r/askreddit. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Therapists. What is something people are afraid to tell you because they think it's weird, but that you've actually heard a lot of times before? I'd say a common one is believing that there's something innately, irreparably wrong with them that makes them unable to ever truly fit in. For a lot of people, it's such a deeply ingrained belief that it can be extremely painful to acknowledge or express, regardless of the level of personal success in their lives. The worst is knowing beyond doubt that you are holding a false belief about yourself and yet not being able to change it. I've spent long enough in therapy trying to figure out what's wrong with me to know there's no there, but the ingrained pattern of thinking doesn't go away. Two topics come up with regularity. When someone discloses to me that they were sexually abused as a kid, and when someone is experiencing suicidal ideation. Both are something I hear from clients every single day, and so I don't find it weird at all. But when I have someone in front of me who's talking about it for the first time, I know it's important to validate the fact that even though I might be talking about this for like the fifth time that day, they have never ever talked about this ever and are in need of gentle care to feel safe. Yes, that validation was life-changing for me. I talked about my early childhood sexual trauma to a few people and counselors to try to process, and was often told that what I went through wasn't that bad or someone else had it worse. It wasn't until a few years ago that our marriage counselor validated my feelings in front of my husband that I truly felt heard and was able to start healing. That they do not know what they enjoy doing. Often they have people in their life, including therapists, say, "Try to do something fun today," or ask, "What do you like to do when you have free time?" Many people I work with do not know what those are. Once I explain that I dislike these statements or questions because they assume people should know the answer, and that many people don't, I can watch as they relax, take a deep breath, and say something to the effect of, "Oh my, that's so good to hear. I have no idea what I like to do. That's part of the problem." More often than not, they feel like they should know and that everyone else their age has it figured out. They are embarrassed to say that they don't know when in fact not knowing is very common. I couldn't even try to count how many clients I've had this conversation with. That makes me feel better, actually. I've lost all interests besides one music artist. That's me. Someone at work once asked me what I do at the weekend, and I didn't know any answer. I just shut down. Not knowing how to spend time in a meaningful way, as in not regretting it later. Thank you for this. It helped me feel a little less isolated today. It's hard seeing hordes of people with interests, hobbies, and passions while not being able to feel a spark of joy from anything myself. A common one in the time I was a therapist was simply, "I don't know." You'd be surprised how reluctant people are to admit that they don't know why they're feeling how they are. But that's exactly why you're with me, so we can figure out why together. It always put me in mind of a line from America by Simon and Garfunkel. "Kathy, I'm lost," I said, though I knew she was sleeping. "I'm empty and aching, and I don't know why." I told my therapist I didn't know how to answer her question. She got angry at me, which made me feel even worse. It's alarming at how many people have replied with the same experience. I hope everyone is doing the best they can. I did stop attending therapy after a few sessions. The first few times were great. By about the third session, I realized I hated her more than I hated myself. I haven't been back since then. The amount of people I see who feel like they should be grieving a certain way and are afraid that they must not have loved someone or must not have cared. People grieve in all sorts of ways. The 5 stages of grief is BS. I was consulting with another clinician who was seeing a couple whose daughter had died. The wife was convinced that the husband must not have cared about her because he wasn't grieving out loud. In reality, while she had been going to support groups and outwardly expressing, he had been continuing to work in a garden that he and his daughter had kept when she was alive, using that time to process and grieve as he did. Both were perfectly fine ways of grieving. However, it is expected that one's grief is more than the other. They both ended up working it out. He drove her and others to their weekly support group, and she attempted to work in the garden with him on the condition that they didn't talk. Really sweet. My mom yelled at me once for not even caring when my dad left. I turned around, walked out of the house, and it has impacted our relationship to this day. In reality, I was doing my damnness to hold everything together, as in helping with the household needs, supporting her and my sister, and doing a lot of internal work. Just because I'm not very expressive doesn't mean that I don't have feelings or that I'm not processing. I feel guilty sometimes when I worry that I didn't care enough or wasn't sad enough when I lost my grandfather. My grandmother was in a bad place for a while after we lost him, and she took it out on the family. My mom blamed me and said she was mad at me because I couldn't go to the funeral. It was during school, and I was going to school thousands of miles away across the ocean that year, and Arlington burials are often way after the actual death, so I was at the immediate memorial, but not the funeral. I really miss my grandfather, though. I just feel guilty because I'll lose it if I get into a fight with my significant other, but for some reason didn't lose it when I lost him. Unwanted, intrusive thoughts are normal and do not mean you are a bad person. Yes, even intrusions of sexual, religious, or moral themes. By definition, these are thoughts that are unwanted because they go against your own values and highlight what you don't want to do. As an example, a religious person having unwanted, blasphemous images pop into their mind, or a new parent having unwanted sexual thoughts about their new baby. However normal these thoughts are, over 90% of the population, the moral nature of these thoughts mean that often people experience a lot of shame and take many years before they first tell someone about them. With my last baby, I would suddenly think to myself, what if I drop her on the floor? I was horrified for a bit before I realized it was normal. So every time I would think about something like that, I would complete the thought. What if I drop the baby? Baby could die. I would go to jail. That would really suck. Let's not drop the baby. I've struggled with this for a long time. Honestly, this thread has been super comforting to read because that seems to be a common answer. That's it for today's video. I think I'd really enjoy talking to a therapist. Heaven knows I've got a lot to analyze about myself. How about you? Do you think therapists are helpful? I hope you all learned something, because I sure did. We are still a relatively new channel. If you like the video, please don't forget to click like and subscribe. And hey, if you've got the time, why not leave a comment for me to ponder over? Have a great day, everyone.